Greetings. This is Fogblades here, and today I kind of want to mostly talk about uh, something that's been kind of on my mind for, I guess, the past few years as of me playing Yu-Gi-Oh for that long. Um, I have a lot of major gripes with how Yu-Gi-Oh is conducted today. Um, it's to the point where I might actually just consider just dropping the game completely. And honestly, at this point, I might as well have because I'm just not really interested into the game anymore. But it goes a bit more beyond that. Uh, I guess the first thing I can mostly start off with is my backstory with the game. So around I'd say I'd say around like 2013, 2014. It was around that time. Uh, I was pretty much almost heading into the pendulum format around like mid to late middle school. That's when I really started getting into the game. Well, not really into the game, as I'll go into later, but it's when I actually technically started the game. I didn't do that much research as I probably should have, but what I did have was, just like a bunch of pile of cards that I just wanted to play, and I thought that hey, all you need is just a pile of cards to actually play the games because the guy that I said oh you just need 40 cards to play the game, and that's pretty much it, or 40 cards to play, and you also need like the extra deck and whatnot. Uh, so I just went off of that and just bought like those little Toys R Us, those like weird like Toys R Us like random card packs that you get mostly at like Walmart. Uh, so as a kid, I often wondered why I kept getting stomped on by other people because I thought I felt fucking cheated by a lot of things as a dumb kid. And it wasn't until I realized that I need technically an archetype because uh, that's just how the game worked, but I didn't realize that. So after that, I sort of looked into possible, deck ideas that might have interested me. And the first deck that I ever actually gotten the deck that really got me into the game was Lunalights. The lore, the character behind it, um, the card art, the way that they play, the way they interact with each other, the whole deck gimmick, just it was just so cool to me. Like a lot of Luna Lights look so cool and awesome, and I wanted to build that deck. So during that time, during that summer of 2016, I made sure to get like so many like singles to get uh, pretty much like all of the Lunalight monsters, Lunalight monsters and spells and traps and whatever I needed at the time. Uh, it was one of my most. It was probably the time that I was probably the most into Yu-Gi-Oh and really was really starry eyed about it. It did also give me a good memory of actually pulling all four of the secret rares in one day from different store locations. That was godlike, and I'll still remember that fondly to this day. But we fast forward a bit to me completing the deck, and I played it, and then immediately got stomped again. Granted, the way I did it, I wasn't completely just stomped and practically shit out of luck for options, but the result still ended up being the same. I was like doing shitty even at my local level, and it just didn't feel good because it felt like all of your effort and options were just absolutely just shit on, and I just don't like having time invested just for me to get shat on. I don't appreciate that. This continued on no matter what deck I seemed to pick. And I understand I'm not really picking like the meta relevant decks and stuff like that. I understand that, but it's not like I'm picking shit like Cloudians or like a weird fucking deck that like doesn't even have any good support in it. It was mostly decks that were functional and could, somewhat battle it out and, possibly become the victor and steal some wins. It wasn't really rogue, but it wasn't like too casual either. Those are like the decks I mostly played. Um, but even then, I just was met with loss after loss after loss after loss, and my enjoyment for the game just dwindled each time it happened, to the point where sorry. But no, my loss, my enjoyment of the game, practically dwindled after each consecutive loss that I've like sustained every time I went to my locals. It gotten so bad to the point where I just want like one day I was just like, after like two or like three losses at my locals, I just upped and left because I just couldn't fucking take it anymore. And to add insult to injury, this was also during a format, 2017 format, that it was pretty much you either played True Draco, True Draco or Zodiac, or a combination of both. Otherwise, you ain't fucking playing. And it really sucked too, because even after that, even after braving through that bullshit of a format, we got hit with Master Rule 4. That being Link Monsters. And let me tell you something. I fucking hate Link Monsters. Like, for real. Like, I hated them so much that I just up and quit for like an entire fucking year and just dropped out of the game completely. That's how much I fucking hated Links. Because it was on top of the fact that this was the year that printed my least favorite one of my most hated cards in all of fucking Yu-Gi-Oh! One of the worst formats that I've actually ever seen in the card game history up until that point. And it was a mechanic that arguably was more polarizing on release more than pendulums were. So that's triple trouble of bullshit that I had to storm. And I didn't fucking like that one bit. So where am I going with this? Well, today I'm mostly wanting to talk about, just all the bullshit that I have seen through the game, like up until this point, and why I might just end up dropping it. So the first thing I should probably get into is probably the Konami product and how they do business. First of all, booster boxes are just fucking scams. Like, the way that they fill in, like, packs is just outright predatory. Like, if you want to go take a look at how bad Konami does, like, a lot of product, like how they do business with product, there's like this video I think from Monkey Fight TCG that he made like a week ago or some time around then. He made one about Konami product and how predatory it is, to the point where even other countries are looking. Hold on, let me rephrase myself. It's bad to the point where he uses an example about when other countries, mostly European countries, were banning loot boxes, and how he was comparing him to them. And let me tell you something: people fucking hate loot boxes, and me included. But I guess we have somewhat of a bias when it comes to card games. But it's the thing is that like booster boxes in Yu-Gi-Oh compared to something like Pokemon or Magic the Gathering is that it often feels like you get more out of your money than Yu-Gi-Oh like boxes of prices. Like, I'll get into like Yu-Gi-Oh cards in general being just less value than in Magic the Gathering or Pokemon. But it like a lot of the times you just get like like when it comes to value wise, you just mostly get like weird pack filler or archetypes that do fucking nothing. And you can argue, well, if every archetype was good, then tier lists would be fucking massive, and every deck would just be viable, and it wouldn't be fun because I guess it would inflate the meta, like I said. But it's just like I always looked at them and wonder, why the fuck are you making archetypes that don't fucking do anything or even touch the metagame whatsoever? Shouldn't you be making like archetypes that should be, at least stand a fighting chance against it? Like that's relative to the metagame, you know? Like the favoritism when it comes to a lot of the Konami product is just insulting, to say the least. Like, take a look at deck boxes like Dark Saviors and Secret Slayers. Two boxes that had archetypes that I was super interested in because I thought it would be so fucking cool to actually have. One of them being the new vampire support from Dark Saviors. Despite, guess what? That being technically the weakest deck, so to speak. I mean, yes, later on, vampires became, more and more established through other products. But at the time, it was okay at best. Meanwhile, you had, for hires showing very good promise, and a degenerate deck called fucking Sky Striker, which had bullshit like Sky Striker Engage, you know? The same thing with Secret Slayers. I was interested in Rika because I thought it was a cool deck strategy. And sure, we're getting more support for it, but it was clearly the weaker deck, and it sucks because maybe I'm just a sucker for like cool strategies that don't really do anything, I guess, in terms of like the game. But it's just like the favoritism is just absolutely like astonishing. It really is. Like, there are some archetypes that were made, I swear, just to fucking fail. Like, one deck that a friend really like showed me was a deck called Iron Chains. What the fuck is that deck, right? I know it's a little bit more of an older deck, but still, I don't understand what the fuck that deck is. Yeah, I get it. It's an anime deck, and some anime decks just suck dick. But like oh my god, like that deck doesn't even fucking do anything. That deck is just like a what the fuck deck. Same thing with I think it's called War Rocks. Yeah, that's a more recent example. Like the battle phase stuff is cool as fuck. It's probably more a coherent deck than Iron Chains, but like that deck like is just not, it's not focusing on the correct aspects of the game, you know? And Konami knows that. Konami knows that making an archetype like that is just going to, like, it's just going to flop. So why are they still trying to make more cards for it, you know? And I know it may seem like, counterintuitive for me to say that because, I'm talking about favoritism and also talking about why make some of these archetypes at all if they're not going to give good support for them. Another one is fucking Vendreads. This one I definitely do know fucking sunk the boat because this was a deck I was really interested as well. This was a deck that showed a good amount of promise. The premise was so fucking cool, like Spawn and Resident Evil. It was so fucking rad. The artwork, oh my god. And then more support came for it, and it ended up being lackluster and just underappreciated. And the deck just like sucks. It just sucks. It's just so heartbreaking because I wanted to get into. I thought this deck could have been like something amazing, something cool, something interesting and different compared to every single other deck, but it's just like, nah, nothing. It also gets to a problem where Konami, when it comes to Konami favoritism, they favorite the people who will be spending the most money, and they favor archetypes and a lot of cards that are weirdly lolly based or anime girls. And yeah, sure, anime card game, that's to be expected, but it's just I don't get the obsession with the lollies thing. I don't fucking get it. It's fucking weird to me. It's just kind of grimy and dirty and looking at like a card like Ash Blossom is just ugh. Now, I guess speaking on hand traps, I could probably uh, pull this up. Let me just get this. So hand traps are nothing essentially new, right? We got this card, Effect Veiler. Uh, he's been around the game for quite some time, to say the least. I'm showing the Structure Deck Albaz Strike version just as a reference, but this card in particular, right? This card, sure, probably at its time was probably a really prominent card, and it could have probably done some damage back in the day. But the difference is between Effect Veiler and a card like fucking Ash Blossom is the fact that Effect Veiler, you could stop your opponent's like effect monsters, but they could still like do stuff and grab stuff for what they need for the turn. Yeah, I know. Hindsight, you could argue that it's mostly hindsight that I'm looking at, but like I don't know. There's something about Ash Blossom that nerves me the wrong way. It's the fact that it hits so many fucking things is the fucking problem. Like for the longest time, you'd play Ash Blossom over every single other hand trap, period. It's not until only recently that more people are like putting in other hand traps like more consistently. I mean, now that you need to, because decks are only getting stronger and stronger as time goes on, and it unfortunately sucks because then this prompts. The problem is that like when you have like really powerful decks, this prompts, Konami to sit there and say, okay, well, we need something that's going to stop these powerful decks from becoming too powerful and untouchable to create tier 0 formats. So then they start making, cards like Ash Blossom and Ghost Spell and all these other cards. And then those cards can potentially become too powerful. And so this also prompts Konami to make more aggressive stuff more aggressive, which then that gets more like powerful, right? So then it becomes this vicious cycle of continuously selling product, not because you actually want to balance the game, but because you rather just want to scratch it on with a band-aid, but also benefit you as a company. And I can already hear people saying, "Well, yeah, you should be doing that to further your own business." But the problem is that if you really want to keep player interest, this I argue is just not a good way to do it. It just rubs people like me the wrong way. It's really fucking unfortunate that Konami does shit like this, because I really want to like their game. I want to enjoy Yu-Gi-Oh. Yu-Gi-Oh has a sense of flair and style and speed that no other card game just can be able to touch. But because of the fact that the balancing sucks ass, and is fixated towards whatever Konami wants to push in terms of product, it unfortunately turns me off from the game and doesn't make me want to fucking play the game whatsoever. But that's not the only thing that makes me like upset about the game. What also makes me upset is this whole idea of casual gameplay being non-existent. Like expanding more a bit on the hand trap side of things too. That stuff is stuff you unfortunately need to even play the game casually. Like my experiences with local tournaments have been nothing but people playing top tier or at least like rogue tier decks. Something that, yeah, sure, maybe not be quote unquote the best deck possible, but it's stuff that would fucking trounce, a local scene if it was actually just about playing as casually as possible. And I know some people could be like, oh, well, my Ancient Gear deck, it's casual. But yeah, guess what? You're playing shit like Pot of Prosperity. You're playing shit like Forbidden Droplet. You're playing shit like Dark Ruler No More, Infinite Impermanence, Icy Dragon Prison, Ash Blossom. If I haven't said that like twice already. You're playing meta staples because you need to do that to face off against any fucking deck nowadays. I wouldn't be surprised if Cloudians started fucking teching this shit in because you have to play that now. The decks are no longer about their deck strategy, they're more about the staples that you put into them. It's the same thing that happens with the extra deck too, because every single extra deck now has to by like a lot of the deck lists that I see, they're often just like almost the same exact extra deck that I see. Some variations, of course, because some decks will have their own specific extra deck slots for whatever they need. But it's oftentimes I see like the same extra deck monsters. I always see like an access code talker. I always see a Baron de Fleur whenever it can make it. I always see an Apollosa, and I always see all this sorts of bullshit happen. And sure, you can argue, decks being like decks back in the day being like, oh well, Xyz was generic as hell. Yeah, but the problem is that it's not as generic as something like Lynx are. Lynx don't really have a level requirement compared to something like Xyz, alright? If you were playing a rank 4, like, if you were playing, like, Toolbox rank 4, unless you had, like, certain other cards that kind of, like, weirdly defied that rule, like, maybe, like, a Utopia the Lightning, for any instance, or Gaia the Thunder Charger if you're playing, like, rank 5s or 6, you're most likely going to be sticking to a rank 4 toolbox because that's the strategy. That's like the main strategy that you're going for. People would know, that you're playing rank 4 toolbox and not just generic bullshit. There's a bit of a difference with that. But with Lynx, they're as like bland and as generic as you can possibly make them to be. But going a bit off of that, locals themselves are mini regionals. And what I mean by that is that people only play to win like the card like measly card packs. And they'll do it by playing a bunch of like top tier decks to do so. Oh, what's that, Timmy? You want to like just get like a pack for yourself because you want to try and like be creative with what you got, even though that like even though that you don't have a lot to work with. Well, guess what? We're giving it to fucking Joey over here with his fucking virtual world deck and who just trounced your entire fucking locals because guess what? Locals are not a place for casuals. Some may disagree with that notion, but sorry to say, but casual play is just non-existent. The only technical real casual play you have is playing with friends and possibly playing on kitchen top Yugioh, Locals is not a real casual format where people can be able to play their deck comfortably. They have to play rogue or top tier shit even at locals, and it's just fucking sad. It's just fucking sad. It's unfortunate that it happens. People are coming in, with like these top tier decks, and little Timmy, right, is coming in with a fucking weird, like, Slifer deck they saw from the anime, right? Like, no joke. Like, when I was at my locals, I actually, like, often played up against this, like, 10-year-old kid who just wanted to play some, Slifer the Sky Dragon, deck, right? Just, like, because, he just saw the anime, just wanted to play the deck around there, and I just saw him getting trounced multiple times, and then him being told that, oh, he can't do this because of card ruling this and card ruling that, and it's just like, is this game really for kids, or is it really for fucking rich elite people, Next thing I could probably talk about, actually, is the ban list. The ban list, the ban list isn't really for wanting to structure or balance the game. This is mostly just to push out other products until they're sapped dry of all their value, and then they get put on the ban list. Like, take a look at fucking like cards like Prank Kids, Meow Meow Moo, and Predaplan Verde Anaconda. Two problematic cards that I know of that people complain about all the fucking time, alright? I guarantee you that Predaplan Verde Anaconda and Prank Kids, they weren't banned because Konami legitimately thought that they were so busted for the game that they needed to be balanced by being put on the ban list. No, they saw that the secondary market was dripping down in value for both of these cards, and so they put the fucking ban hammer on it. It's not for balancing the game, it's for making sure that product retains their value until they're no longer useful. It's literally the fucking meme of uh, Andy, like dropping, like what he's saying, I don't want to play with you anymore. This is essentially that fucking meme to a fucking T. So yeah, no, it's not, to people thinking that this is actually about balance, it's not. It's just about pushing product. The next thing I want to argue is trying to get people to get into the game in general. So, if it isn't about dealing with top tier decks that would push people away from actually playing the game, it's most likely people getting confused about rulings and or master rules in general. So, it's no secret to anybody that Yu-Gi-Oh is confusing, but for very different reasons from other card games. Yu-Gi-Oh is confusing because the text is so specific on what you need to understand. So what I mean by that is here. I got an example. Let me just pull this up. You'll have to excuse me for one moment. I'm trying to search this up. This example that I'm talking about is of Royal Oppression versus Vayu. So, essentially, what this is... Here. Okay, here it is. So, this is Blackwing Vayu of the Emblem. So, this is a card that essentially allows you to get a Blackwing Synchro Monster from your extra deck. And Royal Oppression allows you to pay life points to negate the special summons of monsters and to destroy those cards. But because of how the wording is for Vayu, the problem is that because of how Vayu works, he goes through Royal Oppression, and the effect still gets to resolve anyways because of some weird chain nonsense. So people back in the day who thought that they could Royal Oppression of Vayu, they ended up getting the short end of the stick. And that's only one example of how the weird card ruling fuckery works. Because compared to shit like Shadowverse, Hearthstone, Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't really have keywords. They technically don't. Like they don't have something that could be just simplified as to one word or one term that can be encompassing for a lot of things. Like technically they have GY for Graveyard, but that's more of an abbreviation more than it is an actual is a keyword that you can apply to. They make it as weirdly specific as possible, and that only serves to fuck up the flow of the game, in my opinion. My next major point is about the secondary market. So, back to what I was saying about Konami product and how card value is just way too lopsided towards the actual decent or meta-defining cards. Cards that aren't the most expensive staple cards that make up most of the deck's value, and it does make up most of the deck's value. If it's not the engine, if it's not like the $300 Brave engine, or sorry, yeah, the Brave. I think it's a Brave engine, Adventurer engine. Sorry, or the 400 Sword Soul engine. It's the staples. Good God, these fucking staples can just rack up in fucking prices. I mean, just take a look at this shit, right? Pot of Prosperity is going for $109 by this seller, right? Let's take a look here. Oh yeah, and it dropped in price. Wow, what a fucking, let's see, $100 per rare TCG. Rapture Games $106. WFG Lore $108, $108, $109, $109, $110. It's $110 per copy, mind you. Not a play set, all right? A copy. That means this racks up to around past $300. I can get a used console with that much money. Like, that's fucking ridiculous. No card should be worth fucking a fraction of a used console. I'm sorry. I don't care what card game it is. Same thing with fucking Forbidden Droplet. I mean, sure, it's less in price. But, like, Jesus Christ, look at this. 68, 69, 65, 70, 69, 70, 71, 72, 74, 70. It hurts my head just thinking about who could really afford this. And I can think of nothing but either whales, rich people trying to get into the game, or people who would fucking spend an arm and a leg for this shit. It's for fucking, like, reflective pieces of fucking cardboard. And you know what sucks this too? You know what sucks about this too? Is that this is technically Dark Lord support, or the Forbidden support, which is technically tied to, like, the Dark Lord lore, which I fucking love because I play Dark Lords as a deck. It's just, and we want to know what's even worse? This is Ash Blossom Joy Spring from earlier. This is from a structure deck, and this is a common. You want to know how much it's worth? Right here, $40. Look at that, rising up in price as well. Look at this, 30 bucks right around here. Okay, so it's not like as 40, but it's still $30 a copy. $90 for a playset of this fucking card, alright? This isn't even like a fucking, like, ace monster, right? Or it's not even like a super duper rare alternate art like it is in fucking, like, Pokemon. You know? This is just to get, like, the regular plain, like, structure deck version of this card. That's how bad the competitive aspect of this fucking game has gone to. And how competitive players, I argue, ruin this game, like, even more than, like, casual people complaining about it. For real. And guess what? Even if you don't want to play the game, or play the TCG, there are alternative methods. Which, fair point. But let's take a look at those. Mostly sanctioned by Konami. This is Master Duel. So, as you can see, there's about 22,000 people, you know, playing about an hour ago. So, you might be thinking to yourself, you know, that doesn't seem too bad, right? Why are you bringing this up? So, the problem is that it's in stagnation. Look at this chart right here. This is in stagnation. Sure, it peaks at certain points, but it also dips after, like, the end of, like, the month. See that? Like, it's only, like, technically capping at around this much, like, as a median. But here's another kicker, right? Master Duel is facing a fucking bot problem. This bot problem is so fucking bad that I can see people dropping the game because of it. And sure, I hear that Konami's trying to fix it, but it's just too fucking late. Like, just don't, like, I don't understand why Master Duel even exists. Why does it exist? Can anyone explain to me why it exists other than Konami trying to get more money out of people? Because you could just go to shit like Yugioh Pro, you can go to shit like Project Nexus, Project Ignis, you can even just, like, make it simple and just go to Dueling Book. Like, there is no reason to buy the games or to play Master Duel or even Duel Links in general. It's just fucking useless. Let's see, what else is on my list of fuckery? Alright. Okay. Yeah. So, the thing that really gets me, though, I could forgive all of this, for real. I could actually forgive all of this if the community itself wasn't so fucking toxic. Now, when I mean toxic, I'm not simply saying, oh, well, these are people that would put a razor blade in a cookie and then give it to one of the actresses. No. This is a special kind of toxic community where it how do I put this? It justifies nearly everything that Konami does. Now, sure, you often hear people complaining about aspects of the game. And yes, you even have some pretty either top-level people or people or Yugi-tubers who will say similar things to what I'm saying. But the problem is that nobody wants to do fucking shit about it. And when they do, it often falls flat on their face because no one is really interested in actually wanting to change. They just want to just play their decks and just live on through life. Now, whether you're on either side of the aisle of whether you think that's not okay and you think that change should happen, or people like me should just let it go and just let people enjoy their game, I'm sorry, but I just can't let that slide. The amount of times I have seen people complain about this game and then hype themselves up and stand for Konami for this shit enough to buy multiple booster boxes, all right? You gotta understand something. It makes me die inside whenever I see fucking people like Team Samurai X buying multiple boxes, if not multiple cases of fucking Yu-Gi-Oh boxes and hyping themselves up and putting on that surprise face and being like, "Yo, what is up, guys? I bought like this like 5 cases worth of booster boxes, and I'm gonna tell you about fucking cards that everyone knows is fucking broken, but I'm gonna make sure that I'm the person that sounds like you heard it from first. And then when the ban list comes around, I'm gonna be like, I told you. And it's just like, it's so fucking fake. It's so fake. Like, another problem too is that like, I have no like disrespect towards Team APS as people, because they could be really nice guys, but the way that they do like content, especially like with Paul from Team APS Plus, is that he tries to play like this weird like medium ground, but all he just comes off as is a fucking fence sitter who's just like, yeah, I understand point A and point B, and even though that point A has a lot more right points than point B has, you know, this and that and this and that. And it's just like, I never seem to hear from him an actual like solidified answer. And listen, if I'm wrong about that, then I'm wrong about that. Then it's just the way that I perceive it, and I just don't appreciate that. You know, I want transparency when it comes to a lot of players. And it also sucks too because I actually tried to do something about it. Well, in a weird way. So when I was practically at my last legs for this game, I wanted to make a server where I get people in the know, like people in the know about this game. Like, I'm talking about like in depth, right? Like people who were like ex-judges and shit like that. I wanted them to help me sort of make like a casual ban list, so that way people could actually play decks and feel like the game is actually balanced. The problem is that a lot of people just didn't really give a shit. Now, I'm not trying to make this seem like a pity me party where it's just like, oh, people are just so cruel about, you know, not doing anything in the Discord server, or not willing to participate in my thing. No. It's just a weird show about how people just don't really care about the changes in Konami. And it's unfortunate because people sometimes often ask me, like, well, if you're complaining about Yu-Gi-Oh, then why not just quit the game? And yeah, why not just quit the game? So I feel like this is sort of like a video where it's kind of like a weird, like, I'm kind of just tossing my hands up and saying fuck it. So yeah, I want to say fuck Komani. Fuck Komani for actually dicking over Western audiences by making certain cards more harder to obtain than your OCG brethren. I understand you're trying to get along more so with your base of operations, so to speak, but you shouldn't have to fuck over the TCG like this. I want to say fuck Komani because of the fact that outside of their card game division, they also suck ass as a fucking like a regular company when it comes to making games. They pissed on Metal Gear Solid, and they pissed on fucking Castlevania by making fucking cringy ass NFTs. All right, and they also made like beautiful like CGI like cutscenes for a Metal Gear Solid 3 pachinko game. Yeah, no, fuck Komani can suck my nuts about that. And honestly, I'm gonna say fuck the stands of Yu-Gi-Oh. Honestly, fuck the people that still don't want to do anything about this game, even though they understand and deliberately know about this game's debilitating problems compared to other card games. The fact that it's not the fact that it's not surpassed Magic the Gathering or Pokemon, it should be pretty apparent to a lot of people why that is. It's because of the fact that they fuck over the TCG, they make cards more expensive for the TCG, they don't care about balancing the game for the TCG, and they overall just fucking hate us, which I don't understand why. I legit don't understand why. We want to. I wanted to at least, support the game, like I said before, but just to take a big piss all over, TCG audiences, it's just the final nail in the coffin that I just cannot ignore. It's not something I could just brush off easily and just be like, yeah, no, this is alright, this is fine. So, yeah, this is kind of just a goodbye. I think I've kind of rambled on for long enough. This is all over the. This might be a little bit all over the place despite how structured it is, but I just stopped giving a fuck. Anyways, I'm just gonna dip out for now. See you later. Adios. Sayonara.